Hello everyone, my name is Alex Clay. I'm the owner of 2812 Studios, and this is the Unity Basics Workshop. I'm joined today by
I'm Michael Payne. I'm a graduate from Out West and a student from Marshall.
And in the back there we have...
My name's Cory Brown. I'm president of AFO Studios. I'm a Mount West alumni, Marshall Princeton.
And today we're going to be teaching you guys about the basics of Unity, interacting with the UI, messing with the basic creation tools, so that you guys can walk away from here, load up Unity at home if you wanted, and make something. Okay? Sound good? What we're going to need you guys to do first is to create an account on Unity. Okay? You guys should all be, or should have a Unity page with create an account up, right? Anyone not have that page? Go ahead and create your accounts, and whenever you're done, we'll move forward. Get started. Okay? And this is just so that, like, when you leave today, you'll know how to make something in Unity, and you'll already have Unity set up. All you'll have to do is download the game, or download the program and run it.
And with an account, all the projects you make can be saved on cloud, so you can take them on any computer. And as long as you get Unity installed on the respective computer, you'd be able to pop up that project on there and continue working on it.
The confirmation page, the confirmed email thing, is in French. I don't know if that's a sign of bad things to come or not.
It's in French.
Yes. I have to enter my mot de passe. It'll probably be fine.
Yeah, they should fix this up.
Yeah, if it keeps doing that, let us know and we'll look into it. I've not heard that before. Because, what is it?
I might be using a VPN.
There should not be any VPNs running on any computers in here, I don't believe.
It is on my phone.
Oh.
But would I know that there's a VPN on here? Do I have to like choose to have that, or?
You would have to set it up.
Yeah, so probably not. Okay.
It's just probably a mess up with the language when you're making up your account.
Does anyone know what a souvenir de moi means?
The souvenir de what?
De moi.
Well, there's me in there.
Yeah, there's me. Something of me. I'm looking.
If you go to, on a disk, or rather up here in the corner, you see my account, open and new, right? Need everybody to hit new. We're going to make a new Unity project, name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it Basic Workshop.
Unity Personal.
What is it?
You select Unity Personal.
Oh, yeah. Have they gotten through the surveys or anything yet?
A license agreement is not.
Yeah. Whenever the license agreement comes up, just say it's Unity Personal, and you do not use Unity in a professional fashion.
Okay.
Unless you do. I don't know of anyone here that's making $100,000 a year using Unity, though. If you do, maybe then you use it in a professional fashion.
Would like to talk to you if you do.
It's a survey.
Yeah, they've got these surveys and stuff. I didn't even know that they had a survey. It's been a while since I've created an account.
I literally made an account like a couple months ago, and this wasn't happening like a couple back then, so it might be something.
And for this particular instance, I'm just going to say it's a 2D project. It doesn't really matter, honestly. You can switch between 2D or 3D. Actually, no, it's a 3D project, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay. 3D project.
The only difference is imported like 2D images, and 3D will come in as textures, and 2D will come in as sprites.
Really?
So it's just about when you import it, and the camera by default.
Yeah, I was about to say the only thing I actually knew different was that the camera by default starts in 2D mode instead of 3D. Okay, we'll just create our
You can
project.
switch between once you load a project. Very different.
Firewall is trying to block me from creating my project.
If it'll let you use allow access, then do that. If it won't, just hit cancel.
Yeah, but I have to enter an administrator password.
Just hit cancel then. It shouldn't break the program. It should just not let it work with the internet.
Oh, there we go.
Should. Let me know when everybody's gotten to this scene. Everybody's good? Okay. So whenever you see this window, this is the default view of Unity. This is what it's going to look like anytime you load it up for the first time. Okay? As you can see, it's a bit of a mess. There's quite a bit going on because there's a lot of things you can do with Unity. If you look over here, like, wish we had the thing that made the mouse bigger, but if you look over here, we have the project thing down at the bottom. That's where all the things, like all the assets that you make are going to be stored. Okay? Like if you make a sprite or a texture or something and you import it to Unity, it's going to be in the project view. In the scene view, we actually see the game world, which really just has a camera and a light in it. You can navigate in it by hitting like Alt and clicking and dragging. You guys can see that probably. You can also use middle mouse button to kind of move it around a bit. You get the hierarchy over on the other side, which will show you all the assets in your scene. And you have over here, it's defaulted to services, but if you click on inspector, this will show you information about the assets in your scene. Like if you click main camera, for example, all this information would pop up. That's the main part. What is it? You want to cover game and console?
Yes, the console. How many people in here have programmed before? Good. That's what we like to hear. Then you know, like with debugging, you're probably familiar with the console. Unity has the same thing down at the bottom. This is where you'll get your errors, which there will be many. That's where you can find it. You can even drag these out and move them around if you wanted to get it looking more like Visual Studio. You can put it down at the bottom and its own little thing. What's next? The asset store. Unity has an asset store that's super valuable, especially when starting off. You can reverse engineer a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it's free. I'm going to just search for house. And then it even has a tick where it'll set the query price to 0, so it's only showing you free things. And if it's on the asset store for free, then you can use it in your own games. There might be a license that allows you to not make money off of it, but starting off, you don't really need to worry about that too much. The toolbar. Okay, I guess that's up here. And up here, it's like any other like Windows application. Even on Mac, it'll just be up at the top like it is. You got File. This is where you can hit New Scene. Scenes in Unity are pretty much levels. So if you wanted to make a new level, typically it would be a new scene, or even if it was just changing the controller. You got all these, Save Project, Build Settings. This is just where you'd go to build. So all these different platforms, if you wanted to build for Android, Xbox, even down to Facebook. Edit, pretty standard. Game object, which this might be where you spend most of the time. You can pull in any 3D objects. Let me get in here. If you just hit this, come over here to cube. Now you have a cube in your scene. And if you double click anything, while I did that, just so you know, if you double click anything in the hierarchy, it'll automatically focus on that object. So now you have a cube in your scene. In assets, it gets a little more tricky just because it's a little more specific. So it's not necessarily a game object, but you can create new C# scripts, JavaScript, which I wouldn't get too used to because I actually heard they're phasing that out. Shaders, a lot. There's a lot. But since this is the beginning, is this where we want to import the package? Alex, is this where we want him to import the package?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Should be on the desktop.
Okay, so if you go to import package, hover over it, it'll come up with custom package ... and that usually indicates that it's going to open up an outside window. You want to do that, navigate to the desktop, and then find Unity Workshop is the one you guys want. And then click open, and it will start the decompression.
Lack of that file here.
You do not have that file.
Yeah,
On the desktop?
Saving it or? Like open.
I already clicked to import them.
Just importing all. Importing all of them.
Yep.
Feet physical material.
You can see little previews.
You know what, while we're waiting, there's a, just as a side note, if you don't like the way that this is laid out, you can drag things around, like if you wanted the inspector over here as part of the, under the hierarchy. All this is changeable. And then if you ever get like lost, you lose a window, like let's say I drag services out, exit out of it, and I want it back. Go to window, find services, click on it, and it comes back. Or window, layouts, and then back to default. Except now I'm going to have to re-import that back.
Or if you happen to have two screens, you can move stuff to the other screen, so that way you have more space. It's a lot of customization that goes back.
Okay, is everybody?
I'm still importing.
Okay.
Someone finished up.
All right.
Yeah.
I had to restart mine, so you have time.
Thing. Almost everybody's like re-importing right now, but everybody seems to be on the same.
You may want to go and start
Okay.
importing.
Import all of it? Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do. There's a glitch that can happen in Civilization 5, I think. And like the textures get swapped around, like it's looking at the wrong things, putting them in places, and like the highlights for Genghis Khan's face texture got put on the skybox. So there was a bunch of ghosts looking down at you in the sky.
All right, what if you guys see this window too, if you get a package off of the asset store and you don't necessarily, like let's say I bring this in and I don't necessarily want the textures for her, I'm going to use my own. So you can actually uncheck this and you'll import everything but her, whatever's in that folder. And that's just a little side note. Usually you don't want to do that often because there might be dependencies and then you might break the whole thing. But go ahead and import that and it'll unpack everything.
Whenever you get that Pro Builder pop up, just close out of it.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
That's something we'll be covering in the advanced workshops.
Yeah.
Pro Builder.
Be sure to check it out.
Is it like an API that you got from the asset store?
It's it pretty much turns Unity into Blender. So it, like instead of having two separate programs, you can actually 3D model inside of Unity.
Is it any easier to use?
It can be. There is also, it's a paid version. We're using the free version in here, but if you want to get the paid version, it's great for prototyping levels, and it's awesome. I saw a hand up over there. What were you saying?
Can you program with Unity, like write lines of code in it?
Yes, you can code in C# in it. You just go.
Is C# required?
Oh, you mean, actually, there's an IDE. Is that what you're asking? If you actually code inside of Unity?
Yeah.
No, you would code inside of Visual Studio or whatever IDE you want. Yeah, mono-develop is default. Actually, Visual Studio is default now, isn't it?
It depends. But sometimes it seems mono-develop is
Yeah.
installed by default. Sometimes it seems it's Visual Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Community's free.
I was like, mono-develop likes to go on the fundamental.
Yeah, I use Atom,
Scripts. It'll load up mono-develop and stuff.
and it'll try to load up both of them and seize up a computer.
Okay, almost everybody's got it imported now. There's only a few more people that are still waiting for it to finish up.
Hey, you play this.
I'm one of them.
I usually like, that's about the point that everybody's at. If
Alright.
they're not past it.
I never really looked at that.
But yeah, you can you would code in whatever editor you wanted to, and then save it, and then you'd have access to that file inside Unity.
Yeah. Hit project. There you go. That was a good thing. She still had the console up, and it gave her the big log about getting all these things. Mike, why are you in Visual Studio? What are you doing?
I think I'm just my
Oh, so
I was
that's
working on
the
something else.
I don't want this Pro Builder update, do I?
No.
Okay. Oh, wait, Pro Builder.
Import custom packages thing.
It's just about everyone's done importing.
There's some networking classes in here, and they get some stuff switched around sometimes. We're not aware of this.
Watch as I drag and drop textures that should be there on the thing.
So you just drag it in?
I just made an example under the workshop.
Okay.
So have you worked with Unity before?
Probably ready to go.
Okay.
Already started to play with Erica.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good assumption.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, if you go to Game Object, inside of 3D Object, you'll find a Terrain tool. That's the first. That's the first type of game object that we're going to work with.
Do you want us to delete the cube that we made earlier?
You can, if you want to. If you don't like it, I don't like it either. No cubes. All right. Over here in the inspector, you can see that. I don't know how deep we want to go down this rabbit hole, but I just wanted everyone to notice that there is a transform for every game object inside of the scene. It's kind of weird getting into 3D games just because it's 3D space and it's stumped many a mind. But inside the transform, you usually have an X, Y, and a Z, and usually these numbers together form a vector 3. That's just as a side note, but inside of the X field, let's do -80, and inside of the Z, we'll do -80, and that just kind of positions, now 0, 0 is about in the middle of the terrain tool. It's weird standing up and being in Unity. I'm used to being slunched over with a hoodie on. Oh, I can't sit on that either. All right, so inside of the terrain tool, we have these different options. You can use this to make hills. And it's pretty much just what you would think of as a terrain in a game.
So you have open. Which one did you use to get that?
To get that game object.
Game object?
And 3D object. Terrain. You move it around to.
And once you have that, the inspector change the position from the X and Z.
I think this is the only thing I've never done in Unity.
Hashtag new sky roll.
So at least you go home with something, right?
I downloaded it once and I did that.
Yeah, your question?
Oh, big deal. There you are.
I'll start rolling on your train.
I didn't think anything for X and Z.
Yes. That's pretty much all we've done. In that scene, though,
Yeah, you want to make it in the advanced workshops?
Very accurate description of Unity right there.
Okay, so some of you have already found the terrain tool, making mountains, stuff like that. To add textures, you want to go over to the paintbrush symbol, click on that, and down in edit textures. It's kind of like if anyone have ever messed with like Photoshop or photo editing software, you have these different kinds of brushes. But we're going to add a texture. And then inside of this menu, we're going to click on this, and we're going to hook it into the field. We'll use grass. And then click on grass. Not one of you can use one of the billboards, but it's probably not preferred.
How do we? How are we putting this in now? Oh, wait.
next ring. And then right in here. Under the
When I use terrain game component, it kind of looks, I guess it's a big brush in the middle.
Okay, here. Middle of all the different options right there.
And then the textures.
What do you want?
Inside there.
The terrain thing?
And right now.
Like you're trying to add a terrain?
Aircraft fuselage, huh? That looks like grass.
Yeah, we were going to try to avoid talking about. Unity has a standard asset pack that has a lot of pre-made things you can use in your game for free, and an airplane is one of them.
A grass airplane.
All right, is everyone about here or have already gone to here?
Okay, are we ready to start
Yeah,
talking about
we might.
materials yet?
Yeah, we might have to go. Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I need to at least get this one. You took the layout from me.
Okay, so did we go over the terrain with the textures?
No, that's what I was starting to do, and I think that what I'm doing, getting to that point. You can probably talk about it.
We should. Okay, so
Yeah, why isn't normal
Everyone
mapping
has
it?
grass on
I
their
thought
terrain.
normal mapping looks at textures and makes them.
okay, so
Hey guys, we're a little pressed for time. We're gonna have to move on.
yeah. Next thing is creating material, and materials they're like the textures that you're using to paint onto your terrain, but it gets wrapped over a 3D object. So, for example, if you if you ended up deleting a cube, you can put back in another one or just anything else. But if you have a cube and you can go into create or right click on your project and hit create and then come over here to material, and that will create a material for you to use. I'm probably going too fast. No? Okay. So
Is
with
anyone not making a material?
Where'd you go to do that?
Right click down here in the project window. Anywhere in the blank space.
Also there's the assets at the top. You can go on the assets in the top and find the material.
Oh, there's the grass material. Found that, right? Is that it?
Yeah, we were gonna. He's gonna go through and show you how to make one from scratch that way.
Okay, cool.
What is it? Which one?
You good?
Yeah, I made a new material, but it's just a gray ball.
Yeah, I'll go into things you can add into it and additional things. So once you have your material, you can name it by double clicking on the name, or you can just leave it alone. Up to you. But there's a bunch of options in the inspector to the right that you can use to customize your material to give it the look you want. The first one being the albedo, which is the color. That's the actual texture that goes onto the material. So if you wanted to use any texture that you have, you can drag it over into your albedo, and now you have a wooden floor material. I'm just going to drag this onto the box so that way you can see. So now it's the wooden floor versus the gray box. Also to the right, if you weren't wanting a texture on it, you just wanted to use some color, there's a color tool to the right of the texture for the albedo setting. So you can give it a texture or you can give it a color. Also, in addition to the albedo, there is metallic, which is a slider that will customize how metal you want it to be, metallic.
You can make it so smooth that it doesn't even reflect light.
Yep. Yep, and there's smoothness. You can drag that up and down. And there's normal map.
There's a normal map.
That's what I said. You can make
Yep.
it so smooth and metallic that it doesn't even reflect light.
And what the normal maps do is they make the textures look more 3D by making it appear like there's bumps and ridges in there versus making it into the model. It's a
I
little.
tried doing that to the terrain, but it like by using the thick grass texture and then putting in the thick grass texture for the normal, but it didn't want to take it because I had to import it a different way, right?
Yeah, it's a different kind of file. It uses shades of blue to tell height, so it's almost like light blue is up top. It even gets to like pink sometimes.
So to make the thick grass normal map, oh, there's the grass normal map right there.
And
Okay, now I get it. Okay.
in addition to normal map, there's height map, which it sounds the same in theory, but the height map will actually give dimension to the material.
Whereas normals is like kind of tricking you, right?
Yeah, height actually adds bumps. That's the difference I've went with.
I am taking some 3D modeling for printing, so I kind of know what this is.
I make food. That's about it.
And
I made it. Oh, but never made it.
a couple more things to go over with the material. There's an emission box, which will, for example, if this cube was sitting next to a piece of metal, upping the emission will give it some reflection off of the metal. By default, that goes between 1 to 0, but you can ramp it up above 1. So now it's just a very bright box.
You could disable the directional. If you disable the directional, I don't know if you want to let them see it like glowing.
Oh, yeah. Disable, but it still stays bright versus the rest of
The
the.
Skybox has a little bit of an atmosphere.
That going to drop that down to like 0.5. So you see it works. And lastly, the thing I wanted to go over is just this tiling option. So if I were using this material on a larger object, having it for a floor, the tiling you can go into and up the dimensions on it to have it use the texture multiple times. So a more seamless texture like this floor, you can make the planks on the wood or the wood texture look different from the default by adding more textures on top of each other. And then there's also offsets, which will move the texture onto the on the cube by a portion. You can't see it because it's really small now, but and that's roughly all the tidbits of the material section.
All right. Then I'm going to talk about Erica. Some of you might have already found her. All right. So in the assets folder, under the workshop folder, also, I don't know if we kind of breeze past this, but you have a kind of the same thing. It's like a project hierarchy where you can actually see the folders and everything inside the asset folder. So you want to drop these down until you see Erica character. Actually, no, we don't want that. Ignore that. That's just for organization. We want the folder prefabs. That's what we're going to talk about. In prefabs is just like a predetermined set of game components or game objects, components and game objects. It's a game object with predetermined components. But you want to drag player onto the scene, probably somewhere close to the terrain. Yeah, and if you hit... Alright, while she's in the scene, if you hit W, W brings up the directional tool where you can move things around. E will bring up the rotation tool, It's just like a little hotkey to make things a little faster while you're in Unity. It'll bring up the rotation tool so you can quickly rotate, and then R will do the scale, so you can make her bigger if you want to. And then I'm going to talk about the different components that are on her. She has a controller. This is kind of determining like where she is and how she's moving. She has another controller that has her speed, her jump height, things like that. Mouse look. She has a rigid body. Rigid body in Unity is how they handle their physics. So anything, if you want something to move on its own and react like it has physics, you want a rigid body on it. There's rigid body 2D, but today we're talking about rigid body, which is just default for 3D. She has an audio source. I'm going to disable that even though she doesn't have any audio. So now if you actually go up to the top and hit play, you should, actually, you won't see anything because the main camera is still in the scene and you're just kind of watching her. So if you hit exit or escape, you'll get control of your mouse again. Go up to that, get out of here. You want to delete, guys, you want to delete this main camera and then drag in the other camera. There's a camera down here. Just drag it into the hierarchy. It doesn't matter where. And I'm going to talk about this camera while I'm at it. I guess it has a script on there that follows the target. It has a, you have to drag. I hate that that's not by default. You have to drag in from the hierarchy the player to the target field in the follow target script on the camera. Once you do that and you hit play, the code is telling the camera to get behind Erica at a certain point. And now you can walk around with her. But she's still a little wonky because, to be honest, she was made in a week, so be gentle. She'll turn around like that. If you guys hold down 1, you'll notice that she does have a little dance move. The camera? It's in the folder prefabs too. If you drag that and just place it in the hierarchy.
I was talking about the actual, like, where I drag it into the
It's
Then you have to take the player.
Where do I drag it to?
in this camera, they have a component, it's follow target, and you'll want to put it in the target. In Unity, we usually call those hooks, where it's just like, if you say, I need to hook that into that.
You mean drag it over to that sidebar?
Yeah, drag it from the hierarchy over here and place it in there.
Yeah, so not necessarily main camera. Drag it into the game first.
In the camera inspector.
And it's in the hierarchy.
For these right here, there is.
I'm going to drag it from the
So what
hierarchy.
you would want to do is take the
Follow target?
player and
Yeah,
drag it
the
to
player.
target. And now when you play, it will follow.
I'll have to make the target.
Gotta drag Erica to the camera. Oh, wow. Or have the camera already selected and then just click and drag her so that it stays open.
Yeah, I guess too, if you click on it, it has this little circles. It'll open up the same window that the textures would. And if you guys ever want to control your mouse back, just hit escape and it'll unlock it. Button for dancing is holding down Y, or holding down 1. If you click on this little circle too, it'll bring up a window and you can actually search for anything in the scene. Okay.
Here is where the ball is at, so then just drag the player to that.
This is exactly where we're at. I can say yes, and I can turn Erica.
You can also use the spinner also.
Dragging what?
Use spinner while she's dancing.
I just don't know how to I can do that.
Put the camera upside down.
How to paint like so right.
Okay, if that's what you like. Then we come over here.
Like that, right?
Okay, so
Then take
that's
that.
taking a work to do was click on this new camera. Click this main camera.
You go
These are weird tools. They kind of look
I feel like they need to be in first.
well, I mean, this is like they said, crazy week.
Oh, she can jump.
Yeah.
Watch.
This is a follow target script, and that will make it right.
You're probably seeing it.
Look at this. Look at what I can do. Look at this. Erica can slide wherever she wants to go. Alright, texture.
And that's about
We went to the same place.
I think next thing is
I mean,
animations, but I'm just gonna
make a button. We're out of time.
briefly talk about animations.
And as he just explained, a normal map is like a bluish
As far as you know,
kind
is
of file.
everyone messing with Erica?
So there you go. That's an actual normal map.
Literally a minute.
Oh, really? All right. You want to go? You want to go button? You want to do the button or?
Yeah, we can make a button super fast.
All right, go.
Okay, guys, we're gonna try to make a button really fast. If you go to the scene view, okay, so everybody's on the same place. We're gonna make a canvas. If you ever notice, like whenever you're playing a game, you know you've got your UI everywhere, like your health and all that. This is where it would be. It's rendered separately from the scene that you're seeing right here. It's going to be a 2D image. So if you go to right-click on the hierarchy, and you go down to Create UI, and then you hit Button, it's going to make a canvas with a button attached. Okay. Everybody see that? Once you go to the button, simply go down here to Add Component, and then type in Material Randomizer. Once you type in Material, it just pops right up.
Oh, so is this going to be like a GUI thing or something?
Yes. Now, once you have this screen, or once you have this script added, it should show up at the very bottom of your inspector. Okay. And you'll notice there is an object to color, which, if you look at it, it says there is no game object assigned, right? Simply take the player game object from the hierarchy and drag it in there, okay? Now if you hit play, you should have a button in front of you. You can change the aspect ratio.
Where is it?
And then, what is it?
Where am I dragging the player?
If you go down to the bottom of the button, like if you have button selected, and you go down to the bottom, after you've added the material randomizer script, just drag her right into the object to color.
Okay, so I have to add something.
Yes, if you go to add component and then search material randomizer will show right up.
How long were you?
A monster.
What am I supposed to add?
I know, but
Go to the material randomizer. Material randomizer.
Yeah.
You can type it up anytime you see a search bar like this.
Oh, yeah.
How do I press the button now?
Okay. Sorry, I gotta like get some. I have to actually make it big enough for the button to display for me. Where is this button on the canvas? The button is below the canvas for some reason. Is the button on the canvas for you guys? If you click on button, you'll notice that there's this big white square around it. Or it might not even be around it. It might just be a big white square. If your button is below that square, you need to drag it up. Because my button started outside of the canvas area. So, yeah. Once you hit play, you should have a button. If you escape, you should be able to hit the button. Which I don't know if you're able to see here what it's doing to her.
Just made her white.
Yeah. It'll make her random colors. Every single time you hit the button, it'll randomly generate some colors.
Every time I jump, it changes the colors.
Oh, you're right. Every time you jump, it changes color.
Time we jump. What is it?
Was she hooked into the camera whenever you started? It seemed like it like went back to its. Or no, she's in stage. It might not be really visible. It's weird.
Should be doing it. Yeah, there we go.
I have become purely colorless.
She will turn random colors. I'm not quite sure why we're just getting white every single time.
If you keep clicking it, it should like it should give
Yeah, like you see her feet. Her feet are slightly blue. I'm not quite sure why it's going to full white. I was looking into it.
Press the space bar.
Well, not sure.
The directional light's still turned off, isn't it? Maybe it's...
For some reason, it's turning like the. It sets it to 255, 0 and 255, right? Which are the colors you can choose from. However, for some reason, it's setting the alpha not to that. It's setting it to like 1,000, which is why it's doing this weird thing. If you actually click on her after that, like if you click on Erica at all, and you click on any of the materials, and you even touch them, it goes back to normal. So I don't know why it's doing that. But yeah, that's a button.
Some games are made entirely of buttons. Did you want to, like, real quickly, is anyone interested in learning how to put this to the cloud so maybe you can work on it at home?
Yeah, I would actually. Maybe we should have started with like 2D. That would maybe would have been better.
Yes, work on the leaping, color changing Erica. The leaping, color changing, belly dancing Erica.
If you guys wanted to learn to save this at home, though, now that you've created a Unity account, it's very, very, very easy. This collab button up in the top, if you just hit this collab button, and you hit start now, it sets it up.
Oh, my collab button.
The Erica object.
And then once you get this blue arrow, if you hit again and you hit publish now, saving your scene if you need to.
Save often too is another save pretty much any chance you get. Anytime you import something.
How did you make Erica go so fast? Wait, did you press shift?
Oh, what I did, you can make it go faster, but I just changed. You went up here and player. If you go to the area, the players of the controller, you change.
Does everybody see how to do the collab part?
So you make the run speed and the run speed and the jump.
Find the
Mark, you know how to hit collab.
Did you just run her off the map? Where is it?
Okay, so you click on the player. So it has all these different components: transformer, trigger controller, and then the script for controller gives you access to the speeds while you're on the spec. Because that's just the way that they wrote it. So in there you can alter
walk speed,
run speed, grab the multiplier, turn that down.
Yeah.
See if that does anything. Oh boy, Erica's got hops.
She changes directions in there.
Right where it says
So what's the thing?
and then whenever you hit colorize,
Oh, you want to change her run speed?
Oh, I see it. Run speed. So you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it.
And you hold shift to run. This is all we need from a video game. Oh my god. What? Yeah, I set it to 20. What'd you have it
The
at?
button actually works in game. The colorize button there.
That's scary. I want to make some Roblox games. What I want to do. Oh my god. I seriously do. I've always wanted to when I was a kid.
Something random probably has been playing.
Yeah, I guess we're a little over time. It technically ended at 12, so if you guys wanted to like save your projects and get everything ready.
So, can I find everything I need on YouTube to make a basic or kind of intermediate level game?
Yeah, I think actually Unity itself had some tutorials.
Yeah. So, how much do I need to know about coding? Because I'm taking my programming classes, but I've only just started.
Yeah.
Not much. There's a lot of, like I said, the asset store is really good. You can get on there, even tutorials. Yeah.
I know that.
C# is good.
C# is really good.
Make a bunch of excellent tutorials for both C# and